Mr. Mtimka, good evening. Thanks very much for your time. As far as Helen Zille is concerned, everyone benefited. There was no cost involved, no conflict of interest involved, and the feedback was very good. Case closed. What is the public protector's problem? She seems to be asking.
So that comes from a failure to recognize that within the space of socioeconomic development and the for-profit space, there are a number of people that are offering the same services to communities who could benefit a lot if the state played a role in enabling their projects. And in a democracy, what is supposed to happen is that those that are best in doing, whether it is providing a service to government or to the community, get support. It's not supposed to be the case in a developed political system that you find somebody's proximity to power is what determines whether or not they have support to get the enabling resources to do their job. So the point here is that we don't know whether if this process, the availability of the laptops for loaning was advertised as an opportunity, we could not have found somebody with a better idea that could be best supported, that could yield better results. Now, because it was kinship and not merit necessarily that decided whether who should be supported, whose project should be supported. That's precisely where the problem is, and that is blatantly corrupt, actually, because even social development, they assess among community development projects which deserves funding out of a number of proposals. So that it was a non-profit venture is not the issue.
But does, I guess another question that arises is whether the absence of financial gain necessarily means that there was no gain at all. Because we're sitting here talking about Helen Zille's son, who, as far as some people are concerned, if one looks at the conversations that have been going on over the past 24 hours, is now being held in high esteem because he cared for disadvantaged people in Khayelitsha.
Indeed. So this is what I'm trying to explain, that even the Department of Social Development that deals directly with non-profit companies or individuals that are providing support to communities are engaged in competitive processes in deciding which among these organizations that do value in community, not for profit, should be partnered with. So in this instance, the issue is not that there was no profit. The issue is that we don't know whether Helen Zille's son was the best when it comes to executing an after-school or a school-supporting program. There could have well been other players that are providing the service who, with the support from the provincial government, could have done a way better job. And I'm saying precisely because of a close kinship relationship, the Western Cape was barred from having to determine that. And it's not something that's a trait of a democracy. It's a trait of traditional political systems like a kingship, where the state is seen as somebody's personal fiefdom.
Well, Helen Zille is, of course, taking the Public Protector report on review. How much of her stance do you believe, Ongama, has to do with the fact that, one, she has been lumped together with a Fikile Mbalula who benefited from a 700,000 trip that was paid for by one of the benefactors or people who actually do business with his then department. Secondly, the fact that this report is coming from none other than Busisiwe Mkhwebane, who hasn't really covered herself in glory in the past year, at least half the time.
So, first of all, with respect to your first question, I think for me, And we have to question whether politicians fundamentally believe that they are above reproach by virtue of having played a virtuous role in society before, and whether they think that they are beyond accountability. And I don't think because the public protector didn't start on a good footing that we should brush every other investigation that she makes with the same brush. I think this should be judged on its own merit. What I liked about how she has framed her finding is that she based it in specific sections of the Constitution and the code of the Executive Code. And Helen Zille would need to show how erroneous the public protector was in interpreting those specific pieces of, those specific clauses. Otherwise, if she just does it by saying she disagrees with it, then it's tantamount to howling. So I'm happy that she's actually taking it to court, because a court is the most competent institution to determine which of the interpretations goes between hers and that of the public protector. But I think in general, sometimes even beyond the DA itself, the society does tend to think that precisely because the Helen Zille has played or has largely or hasn't been found to have been corrupt before, that is a foregone conclusion that the public protector is in the wrong in this instance, which is not the case.
Ongama Mtimka, thanks very much for your time and insights this evening. He's, of course, a political analyst based in the Nelson Mandela Bay.